Hi everyone, it's Sunday, June 20th, time for another HideNet Week in Review. I'm Vera Dordick. Prices were up again in a number of places in the global hide market last week, and yet again that was the case in the US, particularly for branded material. The most popular hides, which are branded steers, Colorados, and Texas, had a bit more availability this week, so prices went up. In fact, across the board, steers were higher in general. Looking at heavy Texas steers, by the end of the week, seasonal weights of 62, 64 pounds added as much as $3 to sell as high as $53. Even hides for automotive managed to edge higher as there was some uptick in demand, but that's still spotty because of the general production limitations because of the chip issue. In the cow market, interest for plump cows was again decent. Although prices managed to improve a little, it was not an easy task for sellers to get that. Export sales for the week totaled 303,800, which is down by almost half from the previous week. But that's not really surprising given the fact that producers had little to sell last week. With regard to shipments, the total was up 19% at 547,500. And speaking of shipments, some producers said this week saw a big spike in difficulties sending out the hides they need to ship. Slaughter for the week through Saturday, June 19th was down just 2,000 hides from last week, totaling 663,000. From Europe, editor Andrea Guolo reports that it's a tense market, with sellers pushing for higher prices and buyers unwilling and unable to pay it. Some increases were made last week, but already more are in the offing. In the UK, Andrea says that English Origins got another 5 cents, and the 36 Plus is now selling at £1.40 sterling for the best grades and £1.35 for the standard ones. In Ireland, sellers are asking for €1.50 per kilo for the 36 Plus, but there's no news that they actually got that yet. With regard to bulls, Andrea says very few sales were concluded during the week. Southern German bulls are still at €1.90 per kilo, despite the fact that sellers have been asking for 5 cents more all week. In the European cow market, buyers and sellers are butting heads over price increases, and compromise is not easy to come by right now. Again, in the veal skip market, nothing has changed, and demand is mainly focused on high-end quality, which of course benefits certain origins more than others. In his analysis for the week, Andrea discusses what's expected for July and the summer deliveries, and he also takes a look at some additional aspects of the acquisition of Hiva leather by Concheria Pasubio. From South America, editor Ronald Guiel reports that the average price of fresh hides is sharply higher yet again, this time closing at $3.74 per kilo. But interestingly enough, TR1 prices were softer this week, and that's because customers are not happy about rising wet blue prices, to say the least. He also notes that with rising raw material levels, this is really unsustainable, so we'll have to see what happens next week. In other news from Brazil, Curl got its Diamond Seal of Brazilian Leather certification in sustainability. Registration is open for Inspira Mais 2022, which will be online. And from elsewhere in Latin America, Argentina is reportedly ready to allow beef exports next week. That country's footwear exports were up in the first 4 months of 2021. Nike has launched a new app in Mexico. And finally, Marfrig confirmed that it will build a refrigerator in Concepcion, Paraguay. So that's all we have for this week. Until next week, good night from HideNet.